Chosen one, pause for a moment. Because what is being revealed today is not a random message passing before you, but a sign that what has been quietly maturing within you can no longer remain hidden. I, Michael, have watched the journey you walked in silence. I saw the seasons when you struggled alone, without praise, witnesses, or confirmation from the outside. You did not pass through those days intending to become extraordinary. You were simply trying not to collapse, trying to complete what needed to be done, and trying to remain upright in circumstances that could have made anyone bitter. Yet within those seemingly small decisions, a new person was being formed. You did not notice because the change happened day by day, like dawn slowly altering the color of the sky before light covers the earth. Now what was once only a hidden seed has grown roots deep enough to begin appearing through your eyes, your words, your presence, and the way you enter every situation. There were seasons when you believed you were merely enduring, but in truth, you were being refined. Each time you were misunderstood and still chose to speak calmly, your heart expanded. Each time you were rejected but refused to let disappointment determine your worth, you became steadier. Each time someone left and you no longer chased them or begged them to stay, an old cord was loosened. Those trials do not merely tell the story of what you experienced. They reveal who you became after walking through them. I do not want you to keep viewing yourself only through losses, delays, or unfinished things. Look deeper and recognize that you have gained discernment, self-respect, the ability to remain still under pressure, and a clarity you did not possess before. These qualities cannot be purchased with money, nor can they be formed in a life that has never been tested. My beloved child, the season of being hidden does not last forever. There is a time to learn in silence. And there is also a time when what has been cultivated begins to be seen. Yet the revealing of which I speak does not necessarily mean the whole world will suddenly know your name. Sometimes it begins more quietly. Others sense stability within you. Your words carry greater weight. A door opens because someone recognizes what they once overlooked, or an old circumstance no longer has the power to provoke the same reaction from you. You will notice that everything around you begins responding to you differently. Not because you became arrogant or tried to control others, but because the way you see yourself has changed. When you stop asking permission to exist, others can no longer dismiss you so easily. When you establish boundaries calmly, those who only wanted to use you will step back. When you walk with clarity, suitable opportunities will recognize you more easily. I know there are times when you wonder whether what you sense is only imagination. You notice a movement in your relationships, work, or the way others observe you, but you cannot yet name it. I want you to remain clear-minded and refuse to turn every glance into a great sign. Growth does not need to be proven through mysterious stories that pull you away from reality. The true evidence is found in specific changes. You know how to rest before becoming depleted, remain silent when words would only make matters worse, leave when disrespect repeatedly appears, and choose what is lasting instead of chasing temporary emotion. This is the strength you have learned to govern. It is not power used to overpower others, but the ability to govern your own responses, decisions, and direction. Some people are watching you more carefully than before, but they do not all carry the same intention. Some observe because they are genuinely encouraged by the change within you. They recognize a peace they are seeking and want to understand how you arrived there. Others may feel uneasy because the new version of you is no longer as easy to control. Those accustomed to your constant agreement will feel confused when you learn to say no. Those who relied upon your self-doubt will become uncomfortable when you begin believing in your own value. Therefore, I remind you not to live in reaction to the eyes of others. Let them observe while you continue walking. You do not need to explain every change or persuade anyone that you have matured. Time, consistency, and dignified choices will speak for you. The true strength you now carry was not born because you no longer feel pain, but because pain no longer has the right to govern every decision. You may still feel sorrow when someone leaves, but you no longer diminish yourself to hold them. You may still feel disappointed when an opportunity closes, but you no longer conclude that the future has ended. You may still fear a new step, but you refuse to allow fear to keep your feet bound forever. This is the profound transformation that many people did not see while it was taking place. They see only the result when you become calmer, clearer, and less drawn into the chaos that once exhausted you. Yet I saw every small step leading to this day, every time you had to choose again, and every night you reminded yourself that tomorrow would not be lived exactly like yesterday. Be careful that the recognition coming toward you does not become a throne for pride. You are being seen, not so that you may stand above others, but so that you can carry greater responsibility in the way you use your voice and influence. When someone approaches because they need guidance, do not use understanding to make them feel small. When a door opens, remember the days when you stood outside and treat with kindness those who are still waiting. When results begin to appear, do not forget those who helped you when no one knew who you were. True growth always walks with humility. If light causes you to despise others, it is no longer guiding light, but the shadow of ego. I also want you to understand that the world responding differently around you does not mean you can control every result. You still need perseverance, preparation, and practical action. An opportunity becomes a result only when you possess enough discipline to preserve it. Talent becomes influence only when you are willing to refine it. An idea becomes a structure only when you move through procrastination and begin building it one part at a time. Do not use beautiful affirmations to replace action. I am encouraging you, not so that you may sit and wait for others to recognize you, but so that you will have enough courage to finish what you repeatedly left incomplete. Revise the plan, learn what is missing, keep your promises to yourself, and continue even before everyone agrees. This season also requires you to protect your peace. Not every invitation deserves acceptance. Not every form of attention is healthy recognition. And not everyone who praises you genuinely wants you to grow. Observe how they respond when you establish limits, when you cannot benefit them, or when you disagree. A person of integrity respects your voice, even amid differences. Someone who merely wants to use what you possess will become cold when they no longer receive what they expected. Discernment will prevent you from repeating the old mistake of offering access too quickly, simply because you were praised. You do not need to close the door to everyone, but allow trust to be built through time and consistent action. My child, the most important recognition does not exist within the applause of crowds, but in the moment when you look back and know that difficult days did not cause you to lose the goodness within you. You still know how to care for others, but you no longer abandon yourself. You remain willing to help, yet you know the limits of what you can give. You preserve hope without closing your eyes to truth. This is the great fruit of the journey you traveled. Be grateful for the former version of yourself that did everything possible to bring you here. But do not return to patterns that no longer suit you simply because they are familiar. You are entering a new period in which what was refined in darkness will be used in the light. I, Michael, remind you to continue calmly. Do not force everything to happen immediately, and do not panic if others have not yet recognized what you know. A tree does not pull its branches in an effort to produce fruit before the season. You need only care for your work, preserve integrity, nourish discernment, and remain faithful to the small daily steps. What has genuinely matured within you will reveal itself at the proper time. Then you will not need to declare that you are strong. The way you live will reveal it. You will not need to explain that you have changed. Your peace will become evidence. You will not need to chase recognition, because the right people, places, and opportunities will recognize your character when the time is ripe. Continue, my beloved child, because the hidden season has fulfilled its purpose, and the new season is opening so that you can live according to the person formed through everything that appeared to come only to cause pain, my child, throughout the days when you believed you were living an ordinary life. Every hidden choice you made in response to pain was seen by heaven and recorded as something extraordinary. Meaning is not found only in great deeds. The way you remained silent when you possessed enough words to wound another person. The way you walked away from an argument rather than letting anger control you. And the way you continued treating others kindly after receiving coldness. All of these revealed your true character. Those moments may have passed without anyone praising you, but they did not disappear. They became evidence that you chose light in the very place where darkness hoped to multiply once again. I know this was not as easy as outsiders may believe. People often see your calmness without knowing how fiercely you fought to preserve it. They see that you did not retaliate and assume that you were not hurt. They see you continuing and believe that what happened did not affect you. Yet I saw behind the calm exterior. I know certain words followed you late into the night. Certain actions caused you to question your worth. And certain betrayals required a long time before you could trust again. You were not exempt from pain. You felt it deeply, perhaps more deeply than those who caused it could understand. What made you different was not the absence of wounds, but your refusal to use your wounds to harm someone innocent. The world often operates through predictable cycles. Someone is rejected and then begins rejecting everyone who comes afterward. Someone is deceived and decides they now have the right to live dishonestly. Someone who was once humiliated searches for someone weaker in order to reclaim a sense of power. Pain that remains unrecognized searches for a way to pass from one person to another and from one generation to the next, like a debt. Everyone tries to transfer, but no one agrees to end. Darkness depends upon this repetition. It hopes that what once made you cry will eventually become what you use to make someone else cry. It wants you to turn betrayal into suspicion, disappointment into bitterness, and years of insufficient love into a reason to stop knowing how to love. Yet at a moment no one witnessed, you broke that cord. Perhaps you made no great declaration and did not realize that you were doing something significant. You simply knew that you did not want to become like the person who had hurt you. When a sharp word was about to leave your mouth, you held it back. When the opportunity for revenge appeared, you realized the satisfaction would last only briefly, while leaving heaviness for a long time. When others expected you to sink into resentment, you chose distance, healing, and the continuation of your life. That decision appeared small to the world, but from where I watched, it was the moment. An old current was interrupted, and a new road opened. You had enough reasons to become cold. You could have used every time your kindness was exploited as justification, never to help anyone again. You could have used every betrayal of trust to build walls no one was permitted to cross. You could have recounted every injustice as evidence that you no longer had a responsibility to live compassionately. No one could deny what you endured. Yet deep within, you understood that if bitterness possessed you, the person who caused the harm would continue influencing you long after they had gone. Therefore, you gradually released what made your heart heavy, not to declare their behavior acceptable, but to restore to yourself the right to live freely. This choice did not make you weak or easy to exploit. On the contrary, it made you wiser. You began recognizing signs you had once ignored. You learned to listen to actions rather than relying only upon promises. You understood that forgiveness does not require reopening the door to someone who has not changed, and kindness does not require remaining where your dignity is disregarded. Pain was no longer merely a memory that made you sad. It became a teacher, helping you understand boundaries, consistency, and the value of peace. You did not become wiser because you read many beautiful words, but because you walked through reality, paid the cost of misplaced trust, and decided not to repeat what had exhausted you. You did not become resentful, you became awake. In the past, you may have spent a long time explaining another person's behavior in the least painful way, even though you already sensed something was wrong. Now, you no longer need to distort truth in order to preserve a relationship. You can recognize goodness within someone while still admitting that they are treating you wrongly. You can understand that they carry wounds without accepting responsibility to become the place where they release all their chaos. This clarity does not make you less loving. It cleanses your love from the need to be needed and the fear of being abandoned. Your heart did not close as darkness hoped it would. It simply learned to open selectively. You no longer give the deepest parts of yourself to someone who has appeared with only a few beautiful words. You do not rush to call intense emotion an enduring bond. You allow time to speak, consistency to prove, and peace to confirm. When you love, you no longer forget yourself. When you give, you know how to stop before kindness becomes blind self-sacrifice. When someone leaves, you may feel pain, but you no longer allow their departure to make you doubt your entire worth. This is the maturity born from what once seemed capable only of breaking you. I know there were times when you blamed yourself for not reacting more strongly. You wondered whether your silence caused others to believe they had won, or whether your refusal to retaliate was cowardice. Yet, my beloved child, not every battle is won by speaking the final word. Some victories happen when you leave a room without allowing chaos to follow you within. Some victories are found in sleeping peacefully, even while others continue misunderstanding you. Some victories are simply the end of wasting precious days imagining ways to make them regret what they did. True strength is not the ability to cause pain equal to what you received. It is the ability to refuse pain, the authority to determine who you will become. However, I do not ask you to swallow every emotion or pretend that you are all right. Restraint does not mean denial. You are permitted to cry, become angry, and admit that what happened was unjust. Your feelings need a safe place to be expressed rather than buried so deeply that they quietly govern every decision. What I honor within you is not endless endurance, but the way you carried pain through healing instead of turning it into a weapon. You learned to name what you felt, establish boundaries with those who caused harm, and recover peace without destroying anyone in order to obtain it. It was within those quiet battles that your character was refined. No classroom can fully teach someone how to remain kind after being treated cruelly. No advice can replace the actual moment when you stand before the choice between revenge and freedom. You learned through long nights, closed doors, and every time you had to gather yourself after disappointment. Endurance does not automatically make someone better. Some people become hardened and bitter after suffering. Yet you allowed those experiences to make you deeper, more compassionate, and wiser. This was the choice heaven witnessed. I want you to understand that every moment when you refused to become a copy of what had hurt you was building a new legacy. Those who come after you will not have to carry every cycle handed to you. Your family, the people you love, and even those who meet you only briefly can be touched by this change. Because you learned to speak without humiliating, others will know that conflict does not need to end in harm. Because you establish limits without hatred, they will see that a person can protect themselves without losing compassion. Because you chose healing, former wounds will no longer be passed forward unchanged. Therefore, do not underestimate the person you are becoming. You did not merely survive what happened. You are transforming it into wisdom that can protect the future. I did not ask you to keep your heart gentle so that others could continue trampling upon it, but so that darkness could not possess the finest part of you. Continue to live awake, forgive with boundaries, love with discernment, and speak when silence would only allow what is wrong to continue. You do not need to appear perfect. You need only remain honest with your process. My child, heaven saw every time you could have become bitter but chose growth, could have closed yourself but allowed hope to survive, and could have retaliated but chose to walk with dignity. These decisions were not forgotten. They are becoming the foundation for a life no longer ruled by what others once did to you. You refused to let suffering produce more suffering through you. You stood within an ancient cycle and declared through the way you lived that it would end here. This is a quiet, pure, and powerful victory that no praise of the world could fully measure. My beloved child, not one hidden struggle, closed door, or moment of self-doubt was wasted, because all of them are converging to bring you into the alignment I prepared long ago. There were months when you saw only delay, while I saw depth being formed. There were times when you thought you were being blocked, while in truth, you were being redirected away from a road too narrow for what you were about to carry. Every trial touched an old limitation. Every new beginning refined perseverance, and every season without explanation taught you to remain stable without requiring everything to become clear immediately. Now those seemingly separate pieces are finding their proper places. You may feel a gentle movement within, like a house that remained silent for too long, beginning to echo, with doors opening, rooms being cleared, and light returning. I want to tell you clearly that the armor which protected you during the season of battle does not need to be worn forever during a season of peace. You lived too long in preparation for the worst. You entered conversations ready to defend yourself, received good news, while secretly waiting for something to ruin it, and stood before a kind person, while still wondering when they would change. That vigilance once helped you survive moments when you lacked adequate support, but what once protected you can become a burden if carried beyond its purpose. You do not need to recreate battles that have already ended. Not every silence means abandonment, not every delay is rejection, and not every new door conceals a loss behind it. I am teaching you to enter the present, without carrying all the noise of the past. The rest into which I am calling you is not passivity or the abandonment of responsibility. It is the ability to act without being driven by fear, wait without condemning yourself, and move forward without believing every result depends upon perfect control. You became accustomed to doing too much in order to guarantee that you would not be left behind. You tried to prove your worth, explain yourself, preserve connections that were already weakening, and chase opportunities that continually exhausted you. Yet the new season will possess a different rhythm. You must still remain faithful, diligent, and discerning, but you no longer need to rush in panic. What is right will require your response, but it will not demand that you lose peace in order to obtain it. I am not leading you somewhere. Exhaustion is required as proof of worthiness. The right doors will open through clarity rather than chaos. You will not need to knock endlessly upon a road that returns only contradictory signals. A healthy opportunity may still require courage, preparation, and difficult decisions, but it will not compel you to betray the principles refined throughout earlier years. You will recognize the difference between a challenge that helps you grow and a situation that continually depletes you. What arrives at the proper time will not make you smaller in order to fit within it. It will call you to stand taller, use abilities that were once hidden, and enter new responsibility with a confidence that does not need to be displayed. When favor meets purpose, you do not merely receive. You also understand why something was given and how it must be used for the benefit of many. I am repositioning you away from places that know only the fearful version of you. Certain environments became accustomed to your constant surrender, silence, and willingness to accept loss in order to preserve peace. When you establish boundaries and speak truth calmly, they may believe you have changed. Yes, you are changing, but not into someone cold. You simply no longer treat self-erasure as evidence of love. I am placing you near people who can recognize value without requiring you continually to prove it. New relationships will be built through respect, honest exchange, and responsibility from both sides. You will no longer be the only person struggling to keep everything from collapsing. The battle that once attempted to consume your hope lost its authority when you stopped allowing it to determine your character. You did not win because you were never vulnerable. You won because even during your most exhausted moments, you did not completely turn away from the light. There were days when you possessed enough strength to complete only one small task, yet that small task was still a step forward. There were nights when you could not pray with many words, but your decision not to surrender spoke on your behalf. Pressure wanted to make you bitter, yet you preserved gentleness. Betrayal tried to teach you to distrust everyone, but you learned discernment instead of closing completely. This is true victory. What happened may have left marks, but it no longer possesses the authority to write your entire story. What you preserved through hope is beginning to draw nearer to visible expression. But I want you to receive it with maturity rather than impatience. Some promises do not arrive in the form you imagined. Provision may appear through an awakened skill, a person offering an introduction, a small opportunity that opens the way to greater responsibility, or an idea you once forgot becoming timely. Do not search for the miraculous only within overwhelming events. Observe ordinary but precise arrangements. A meeting at the proper time, advice that touches the exact place of obstruction, or a door opening after you finally released what was no longer suitable. Acceleration does not always mean everything happens instantly. Sometimes it means years of silent preparation suddenly converge and allow you to travel farther within a shorter period than you expected. Take a moment to recognize burdens you no longer need to carry. Anxiety is not a trustworthy protector. Self-doubt does not make you more humble. Continual vigilance cannot guarantee that you will never be hurt. These things merely exhaust you before the day begins. You can preserve wisdom without living in tension. You can observe carefully without predicting evil within everything. You can remember the lessons of the past without turning the past into the only map for the future. When old reactions rise, do not condemn yourself. Gently remind yourself that you are in another season, possess different choices, and no longer need to face everything alone as before.